Okay, so now I'm just going to quickly show you guys a very basic kind of eye look that you guys can do, and also show you guys how you can build it up to something that's a little bit more for like a night out or an evening kind of eyeshadow look. So I'll just walk you guys through the steps that I do whenever I'm doing any eyeshadow look. So the first things that you absolutely want to use when you're doing eyeshadow is an eyeshadow primer or a base. I usually use the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. That one is my absolute favorite. Or honestly, when I run out, I just use a very thick concealer. So I've been actually using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer all over my lids. Basically, the importance of using a base or an eyeshadow primer is not only does it bring out the pigments in your eyeshadow, but it's actually going to help the eyeshadow sit really nicely on your eyes and prevent any creasing. So today I'm just going to be using my concealer, and I'm going to go ahead and just dab a little bit on my eyes. Then I just take my concealer brush to spread it all out. So you guys can probably tell that this concealer is super light around my eyes, but it's okay because actually the lighter that it is, the more it brings out the pigment in the eyeshadow. So if you are doing like a super bold color look on your eyes, it's really going to make the pigments pop. So I'm going to actually use this palette. This one is the Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow palette. The next step that I do after adding my base is I'll go in with a neutral shade. So I usually take this one over here and I just lightly kind of set that concealer. So with eyeshadow, the one thing that you want to remember is you always want to start off your eyeshadow with the lightest shades. If you are going to be doing like a super dark smoky eye, for example, you want to build towards that. So you want to start with the lightest shades and then build towards, for example, the black or the dark brown. The reason for that is just so when you are finished the eyeshadow look, you see that kind of like gradient look of like light to dark. So I'm going to be starting off with this shade over here. I'm going to take that on my MAC blending brush. This one is my MAC 244. And what I'm going to do with this shade, I'm going to place it right above the crease almost. And notice how I'm holding my brush very loosely and just very lightly blending it there. So looking at it, you can probably see that it's like barely there, and that is actually the whole point of this shade. This is going to be like your transition shade so that when you build to the darker, you see again that kind of like gradient light to dark. So you can add as much as you want. I personally like to have a little bit of like that orangey shade peeking through. So next I'm going to take my other blending brush. This one is the Morphe one, the second one that I talked about. And I'm going to be going in with a little bit of a darker shade. I'm going to take this brown over here. And I always like to tap off any of the excess product, and basically the point of that is just so that when you apply the brush onto your eyes, it's not packing on so much eyeshadow. And with that, I'm just going to go in right in the crease. So I like to start off over here at the outer corner of the eye and then kind of build it up towards the crease. So as you guys can see, we just darkened up the outer corner a little bit and just defined the crease as well. Okay, so now that we've added a little bit more definition into the crease, we want to add even a little bit more. So for that, I'm going to go in with my pencil brush, and I'm going to go in with this brown shade right next to the one we used earlier. I'm going to pick it up on my brush, tap off the excess, and I'm going to place it exactly where we placed the other brown, but because it's a darker brown and a more precise brush, we're going to get more definition. And then, like I mentioned earlier, our first blending brush that we used is kind of like our clean brush. So this is the brush that I always go back to if I need to blend out any harsh edges, which is what I'm going to do right now. And I like to kind of take it just a little bit on top and blend it out. So as you guys can see, this just added a little bit more definition to what we had previously done. The next step that we're going to do here is take our flat brush and then go in with this shade over here, and I'm going to pack that onto the lid. So I'm going to just take a little bit of my shadow, tap off any of the excess, holding it more closely. I'm going to pack that shade on to the lid. Don't forget to tap your brush. What this also does is it helps prevent any fallout. So if you are using like a really dark shade, like if you're going in with black all over your lid and you already have your face done, for example, tapping your brush to get any of the excess off will ensure that you don't get any fallout onto your face, because that's the worst thing possible that can happen. Okay, so we are basically done the eyeshadow. The only thing that I'm going to add is just a little bit of shadow on the brow bone and a little bit in the inner corner to kind of lift the brow and also make our eyes pop a little bit. So I'm gonna go in with this very like lightish whitish shade. Just gonna take that under the brow into the inner corner. And finally, I'm gonna go back to that first brush and just lightly blend everything in. Okay, now this next step is optional. Obviously, if you're going for a more everyday look, then you can leave it as is. But if you are doing kind of darker look or for a night out or whatever, what you can do is kind of repeat those same steps of using the pencil brush or even this blending brush, which is a little bit more precise, and going in with the darker shades, for example the black or this dark brown over here, and you could just pack on that shade. I'm not going to right now just because I like the way that this one looks just on its own. It's kind of like an everyday look, but just so you know that that is basically how you would turn this look to a more evening look. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to walk you guys very quickly on a few tips for eyeliner. So I'm going to be actually using a liquid eyeliner, but again, if you do use a gel liner with the angled brush, the steps are kind of the same, so it doesn't really make a difference. So the easiest way I would say to apply eyeliner on yourself, because I know a lot of people struggle with it, but I think the number one biggest tip I can give is it's actually much easier when you're not using a mirror that's like directly facing you. So I usually take a compact mirror, and what I'll do is place the mirror just right below like this. And what that does is your eye is like slightly closed, just closed enough so that you can see while you're doing your eyeliner, because obviously your eyeliner looks different when your eyes are open than when they are closed. And I know a lot of people will like close their eyes and then draw their eyeliner, and then they'll open their eyes and they're like, oh my god, it looks completely different. So the reason being is that you want to be able to see where your eyeliner should sit, especially if you're doing a wing. You want to be able to see where it should sit for your eye shape. So I like to start just right in the middle of my eye, bring it out, and then from the bottom draw my little wing, and then connect it with the top. So now that you have your wing on, what you want to do is just connect it with the front of the eye. And there you go. So there you have your eyeliner. Okay, so now that we have both our eyeliners on, one thing that I want to quickly mention, if you do ever mess up your eyeliner by accident and like you have eyeshadow on and you're like, what the hell am I gonna do now? What I usually do is I'll take a Q-tip, put a little bit of like micellar water on it or makeup remover, whatever, and just like lightly like rub it off the liner. Obviously it's going to take off a little bit of your eyeshadow, so then I'll usually just go back in with a little bit of concealer and then cover up whatever bald spots there are and just add in the shadow back. And also another tip, avoid kind of like stretching your eye to draw the liner, because it never looks the same when your eye is stretched and then you let it go. But yeah, so just avoid kind of stretching your eye or anything like that. So just try to keep your eye slightly open, looking down into your little compact mirror, and your eyeliner should come out perfect. So at this point I would go in and add my lashes, but because this is more of like a natural kind of look, I'm not going to. I just added a little bit of mascara and curled my lashes. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I hope you guys learned something. I really just wanted to put something more precise together for you guys, because I have gotten a lot of questions of just very basic beginner kind of makeup. So I hope that this helped, and if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment if you want, share it, and please don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell button so you get notified every time I post a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you next time. Bye.